347 hours, Arabian Sea, 89 nautical miles, southwest of the Strait of Hormuz. March 14, 2026. The surface of the Arabian Sea lay flat beneath a moonless sky, the kind of darkness that turns ocean and atmosphere into a single void. Then, from the northeast, the radar signature appeared. A combat information center aboard the USS Theodore Roosevelt registered the contact at 347 hours and 22 seconds. A single blip, then 4, then 4, then 12. Within 18 seconds, the count reached 47 inbound contacts, bearing 42 degrees, speed 38 knots, range 47 nautical miles. The tactical action officer keyed his communication circuit. His voice carried no inflection, only the precision of a man reporting mathematical certainty. Air contacts multiple, bearing 042, classified hostile. This is not a drill. A tactical picture clarified with brutal speed. Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps' Navy fast attack craft, Pekap Taptu and Zulfikar-class vessels, had departed Bandar Abbas in the largest coordinated maritime surge in 14 months. Simultaneously, the Islamic Republic of Iran Air Force scrambled 16 Su-35 flankers and 8 F-4 Phantom, 2 fighters from 3 separate air bases. The northern quadrant of the Arabian Sea, a region the United States had controlled with uncontested dominance for 3 decades, had just become a contested battle space. What Tehran did not anticipate was the precise choreography of American power already in motion. For 6 days, the Theodore Roosevelt Carrier Strike Group and the Abraham Lincoln Carrier Strike Group had been executing a convergence maneuver that transformed 180 square nautical miles of ocean into a kill zone of unprecedented lethality. 51 warships, 14 submarines, 163 aircraft, the largest concentration of American naval power in the region since Operation Desert Storm. The Iranian command structure had detected the individual carrier groups. What it had failed to comprehend was the merger, 2 independent strike groups folding into a single, interlocking combat matrix with overlapping engagement envelopes that extended from the seabed to the edge of space. At 349 hours, the USS Port Royal, a Ticonderoga-class cruiser positioned 34 nautical miles ahead of the Theodore Roosevelt, achieved fire control solutions on all 47 surface contacts. The Aegis combat system cycled through threat assessment protocols in 1.7 seconds. Priority targets identified. Weapons assignment automated. The Cruiser S vertical launch system contained 96 ready cells. 72 held SM to block EIIB surface to air missiles. 24 contained Tomahawk cruise missiles. The engagement would require neither. At 351 hours, 4 FFA-18E Super Hornets from VFA-31 call-sign Tomcatters accelerated through Mach 0.95 at 22.0 feet inbound from the south. Each aircraft carried 4 ACM-E8 advanced anti-radiation missiles and 2 AGM-84 HSLAM ear precision strike weapons. The Hornets established a firing line 68 nautical miles from the nearest Iranian surface vessel. Weapons separation began at 352 hours and 41 seconds. 16 missiles dropped clean, motors ignited, seekers locked. Time to impact, 4 minutes 12 seconds. The Iranian fast attack craft altered course at 353 hours, dispersing into a fan formation designed to complicate targeting solutions. Standard doctrine, ineffective against distributed lethality architecture. The USS Mobile Bay, an Aegis cruiser operating 41 nautical miles northwest of the Port Royal, had already calculated the dispersion pattern. Its SPY-1D radar tracked each vessel independently. The cruiser did not fire. It simply waited, maintaining lock, a digital predator with infinite patience. At 355 hours, the air component of the Iranian assault closed to 112 nautical miles from the carrier groups. The F-4 Phantoms flew low, attempting to exploit surface clutter. The Su-35s climbed to 34 feet, active radar searching. They found nothing but electromagnetic noise. E-2D Advanced Hawkeye, orbiting at 28 feet and 140 nautical miles from the Theodore Roosevelt, had been painting every Iranian aircraft since departure. Its APY-9 radar saw through jamming, through terrain masking, through the curvature of the Earth itself. The data link transmitted target coordinates to 12 FA-18F Super Hornets, already climbing through 40 feet at 356 hours and 53 seconds. The first AGM-84H SLAM-ER impacted the lead Iranian fast attack craft. The 800-pound penetrator warhead detonated 6 feet above the waterline, punching through the aluminum hull and exploding inside the engine compartment. The vessel disintegrated. Debris irked across 200 meters of ocean surface. No survivors. 14 seconds later, 3 more impacts. 3 more vessels obliterated. The remaining Iranian boats executed evasive maneuvers, high-speed turns, chaff deployment, smoke generators flooding the surface with thermal obscurance, and none of it ammevered. At 358 hours, the USS Princeton, positioned 29 nautical miles east of the Iranian formation, fired 8 Harpoon Block II place anti-ship missiles. The weapons flew sea-skimming profile, active radar seekers disabled until terminal phase. The missiles communicated with each other via data link, coordinating approach vectors to maximize saturation. Impact sequence began at 402 hours. The first harpoon struck midships. The second hit the bridge. The third penetrated the fuel bunkers. The explosion lifted the 275-ton vessel 12 feet out of the water before the hull broke in half. 4 more boats destroyed in the next 90 seconds. The ocean burned with aviation fuel and hydraulic fluid. The Iranian aircraft accelerated to intercept range. The Su-35s activated their N-035 Abrasi radars, attempting to achieve targeting lock on the American surface combatants. At 403 hours and 18 seconds, the sky erupted. 12 AIM-120 DA Mermelnim missiles, launched from FA-18Fs at a range of 87 nautical miles, entered terminal phase simultaneously. The Su-35s detected the inbound weapons at 22 nautical miles, reaction time insufficient. Electronic countermeasures deployed. Chaff bloomed across 6 cubic miles of airspace. The MRAMs adjusted course mid-flight, their active radar seekers reacquiring targets through the jamming. 8 impacts, 8 fireballs. The remaining Su-35s at bespoke formation, diving for the deck, afterburners screaming. At 405 hours, 2 Los Angeles-class attack submarines, USS Annapolis and USS Providence, rose to periscope depth 61 nautical miles inside Iranian territorial waters. They had been there for 11 days, undetected, unmolested. Her mission parameters shifted from reconnaissance to direct action in under 4 seconds. The Annapolis fired 6 Tomahawk Block IV cruise missiles from a depth of 90 feet. The missiles broke the surface, solid rocket boosters igniting, climbing to cruise altitude before turning northwest toward Bandar Abbas Naval Base. Time to target: 14 minutes. The F-4 Phantoms, obsolete relics of 1970s procurement, attempted to close within visual range of the carrier groups. They did not succeed. At 406 hours, 4 Fa-18 Super Hornets from VFA-14, call sign Cop-Hatters, engaged from beyond visual range with AIM-120 C-7 missiles. The Phantoms had no modern electronic warfare suites, no missile approach warning systems, no chance. 6 kills in 41 seconds. The final 2 F-4s turned back toward Iranian airspace. Fuel state critical. Mission aborted. They crossed the coastline at 411 hours. Neither aircraft survived to land. Two AIM-120Ds, fired at maximum range, caught them over the Iranian mainland. At 409 hours and 33 seconds, 7 minutes and 11 seconds after the first weapon impact, the surface engagement ended. 31 Iranian fast attack craft destroyed. 14 Su-35 flankers obliterated. 8 F-4 Phantoms disintegrated across 40 square miles of airspace and ocean surface. Estimated Iranian casualties: 740 personnel. American losses, 0. Not a single round had been fired at a United States vessel. Not one Iranian weapon had achieved guidance lock. The engagement had not been a battle. It had been execution, clinical, comprehensive, mathematically inevitable. Had 413 hours, the Tomahawk cruise missiles reached Bandar Abbas. The first 4 weapons targeted the Naval Operations Center, a reinforced concrete structure housing command and control infrastructure. Simultaneous impact. The building collapsed into its own foundation. The remaining 2 Tomahawks struck ammunition bunkers on the eastern perimeter of the base. Secondary explosions registered on seismic monitors 180 miles away. The Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps' Navy lost its primary command node in under 11 seconds. The silence that followed carried its own weight. The Theodore Roosevelt and Abraham Lincoln battle groups maintained station, radar systems sweeping empty skies, weapon systems cycled and ready. The ocean burned with wreckage. The International Maritime Organization broadcast emergency navigation warnings. Commercial shipping diverted 200 nautical miles south. The Strait of Hormuz, that 21-mile-wide choke point through which 20% of the world's petroleum passes daily, remained open. The tactical lessons were immediate and unambiguous. Distributed lethality, doctrine of spreading offensive firepower across multiple platforms, rather than concentrating it on capital ships, had just proven its lethality in a live-fire environment of unprecedented scale. The merger of 2 carrier strike groups created redundant kill chains, overlapping sensor coverage, and weapons density that transformed defensive posture into offensive inevitability. Iranian doctrine, built on asymmetric swarming tactics designed to overwhelm single carrier groups, had encountered an architecture it was never designed to defeat. Strategic ramifications cascaded through the region within hours. The government of Oman issued a formal statement expressing concern over escalatory naval maneuvers. Translation: gratitude that the United States had just eliminated the primary threat to Omani territorial waters without requiring Muscat to take a position. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia requested an emergency briefing from United States Central Command. The United Arab Emirates quietly increased port access agreements for United States naval vessels. The Republic of India, watching from across the Arabian Sea, accelerated procurement negotiations for 3 additional Arrowhead 140 frigates. Tehran's response arrived at 1,147 hours local time via state media. The Supreme National Security Council condemned acts of piracy and aggression in international waters. The statement made no mention of the Iranian vessels that initiated the engagement. It made no mention of the aircraft that violated internationally recognized engagement protocols. The Iranian public received a narrative of unprovoked American aggression. The Iranian military command received a different message, equally written in wreckage and casualty reports. The calculus of naval confrontation in the Arabian Sea had fundamentally shifted. The engagement reshaped deterrence architecture across the entire Middle East theater. For 17 months, Iranian naval forces had harassed commercial shipping, conducted mock attacks on tankers, and probed American response times with increasingly aggressive maneuvers. Each probe tested the boundary between harassment and combat. That boundary had now been defined with thermobaric precision. The cost of miscalculation had been rendered explicit. Total force annihilation in under 8 minutes. Had the Pentagon released a 6-sentence statement at 842 hours Eastern Standard Time, United States naval forces operating in international waters responded to hostile action by Iranian military assets. All United States personnel are accounted for. Freedom of navigation operations continue. The United States maintains the right to defend its forces and ensure the free flow of commerce through international waterways. We call on all regional actors to exercise restraint and respect international maritime law. The brevity communicated more than verbose diplomatic language ever could. There would be no apology, no negotiation, no reassessment. Allied reaction followed predictable patterns. The United Kingdom's Royal Navy announced it would extend its Gulf deployment by 45 days. The French Ministry of Armed Forces confirmed that the aircraft carrier Charles de Gaulle would transit the Suez Canal ahead of schedule. Japan's Maritime Self-Defense Force, restricted by constitutional constraints from direct combat operations, increased intelligence sharing protocols with United States Fifth Fleet. A coalition that had fractured over Iraq policy and Iran nuclear negotiations found sudden unity in the face of demonstrated Iranian aggression. This engagement fundamentally reshaped naval doctrine in confined waters. For decades, military theorists had debated whether carrier strike groups represented obsolescence in an age of hypersonic anti-ship missiles and asymmetric swarm tactics. The Arabian Sea engagement provided empirical data. Properly integrated, properly supported, and properly positioned, carrier strike groups remained the apex predator of maritime warfare. The key variable was not platform vulnerability, but network integration. The carrier strike groups, operating as a unified combat system rather than independent task forces, generated combat power that exceeded the sum of individual capabilities by an order of magnitude. The operational tempo did not decrease. At 1,620 hours, the USS Mobile Bay detected 3 Iranian submarines departing Bandar Abbas, attempting to capitalize on the chaos of the morning engagement. The submarines, Tarek-class diesel-electric boats, submerged in shallow coastal waters, hoping to exploit thermal layers and heavy shipping traffic for concealment. They were tracked continuously from departure. The USS Annapolis maintained passive sonar contact from a range of 31 nautical miles. The Iranian submarines never detected the American presence. They surfaced 8 hours later, mission aborted, fuel depleted, having accomplished nothing beyond confirming their own irrelevance. At 2,341 hours, 18 hours and 54 minutes after the initial engagement, the Theodore Roosevelt and Abraham Lincoln battle groups separated. The Roosevelt turned southeast, establishing patrol stations in the Central Arabian Sea. The Lincoln moved northwest, positioning itself 140 nautical miles from the Strait of Hormuz, close enough to respond to any provocation within 11 minutes, distant enough to avoid appearing provocative. The message was implicit but unambiguous. American naval power did not require proximity to project lethality. It required only intent. The toll: 53 Iranian vessels and aircraft destroyed, 740 personnel confirmed dead, 211 missing, presumed killed in action, strategic infrastructure degraded, command and control capabilities reduced by an estimated 62%. Iranian naval operations effectively suspended for a minimum of 90 days pending damage assessment and reconstitution. American losses: 0 combat casualties, 0 platforms damaged, 0 weapons malfunctions. 3 F/A-18 Super Hornets required minor maintenance after high-G maneuvering. Total ordnance expended: 47 missiles. Total cost $18 million. Return on investment immeasurable. The Strait of Hormuz remains open, not through negotiation, not through diplomatic assurances, but through the demonstrated capability to annihilate any force that threatens its closure. 51 warships, patrolling 180,000 square miles of ocean, do not guarantee peace. They guarantee consequence. And, in the calculus of modern naval warfare, consequence is the only currency that retains value.